Don't be fooled by the word count, even though it's 100 words. Honestly, it's harder to write a 100-word essay, I think, than a 500-word essay. Now we're talking about short prompt essays. Effectively, the short prompts, these are like 100 words or less. And, they're sort of like quick fire questions. And, the subject matter can vary pretty widely. And you may find some that are sort of interesting or sort of unusual, which is kind of cool. But as you answer them, I always say to people, you want to kind of show off yourself and have some fun. Really, it's an opportunity to be unique, and don't be fooled by the word count, even though it's 100 words. Honestly, it's harder to write a 100-word essay, I think, than a 500-word essay. They still require a lot of thought, a lot of planning, just like the longer pieces. And we're gonna walk you through now through Yale and Stanford, as we had sort of promised sort of earlier. So let me kick back over to the Common App, Michael, and we'll take a look at these prompts. So here's Yale. Now, one thing to sort of show you here with Yale is that, look, they got the application and they have their questions embedded into that, unlike a school like Penn, right? Just to kind of show you its application and then writing supplement. The way that Yale's organized in the Common App, it's different, okay? So if we go to Yale, we go to the questions, they got general questions. This is just like start, term, etc. Then they have academics, contacts, additional questions, and then like their Yale NUS program in Asia. But what I'm trying to show you is that there's actually essays in two places here. Okay, you'll find essays in the academics, right, where you choose academics, and you have basically they're asking you, why do these areas appeal to you in 125 words, and then in addition to that, they have the additional questions where a lot of these short takes are. And so Michael, would love to kind of hear, how do you advise people on these sort of like shorter prompts? What are some of the do's? What are some of the don'ts? And just love to kind of hear your insight.
I think number one, what I would say is don't overthink these. I think many times students try to say, what does Yale want me to say, rather than being themselves and answering the question as it applies to them. And I think there are too many students that make a mistake. And then these are supposed to be spontaneous, quick questions. And for them to then turn around and have four other people look at those answers and change your answer, I find ludicrous, okay? This is a situation where don't overthink them, make them your response, and answer it the way you want to answer it, okay? But as you said, it's really interesting. One of the things we talked about in a previous webinar was how the application gives a theme of who you are and how it tells the whole story. What's interesting to me is you could think about how you can take some of these questions and some of these shorter essays and how that really ties into the theme that you're trying to present in your application.
Yeah, and just to sort of illustrate that, here's the opportunities that you have. We've already seen the academic interest part, but over here they're doing why Yale, right? In 125 words. And in the short takes, they have what inspires you, 200 characters. Then they talk about the Yale Residential College sort of system. If you were invited to speak, if you were to invite someone to speak at the colleges, what question would you ask? They're asking about them, what kind of course would you teach? Then they're asking about you and your suite mates. What are you going to do with them? And then they have some more essays, actually, 250 words. Or they're asking about, it's what it says over here, Yale's extensive course offerings and vibrant conversations beyond the classroom encourage students to follow their developing intellectual interests wherever they lead. Tell us about your engagement with a topic or idea that excites you. Why are you drawn to it? That's a really interesting question, right, to answer in light of, or in juxtaposition to, what areas of study do you want to pursue at Yale? Because you'd think that there's actually some connections there. How do you make them distinctly different and interesting? And then over here in question 2, they actually give you three options. Again, community membership, or talking about engaging with local issues, or talking about like a role model, or someone who's influenced you. So there's to Michael's point, there's so many different opportunities to enrich, diversify, deepen your application narrative, if not sort of like reinforce it. So, Michael, anything else you want to sort of add here about Yale, maybe how to approach an application like this? Otherwise, we'll head over to Stanford.
No, you're right on the mark in terms of what you just said. And one entertaining thing we'll say before we go to the next one was the dean at Yale is now the dean, who used to be the dean at Yale, is now the dean at Stanford. And you'll note the similarities between the questions from Yale and the questions from Stanford. You know,
oh, that's hilarious.
So,
I love
yeah.
these little anecdotes you have, these little tidbits. So here's the Stanford application. And what Stanford does is it's not dissimilar. And here they've got short questions and they got short essays. The academics are not like the Yale, but we'll go over here to the short questions. And they've got, what's the most significant challenge that society faces today? 50 words. How did you spend your last 2 summers, right? If there was a historical moment or event that you could have witnessed, what was it? Elaborate an extracurricular activity. And notice you have there's all these red stars. These are all required, right? I mean, you have to answer these, right? Name one thing you're looking forward to at Stanford. Then you actually get to the essays, which are 250 words or so. Again, Stanford community driven to learn in and outside the classroom, reflecting an idea or experience that makes you excited about learning. Then we have this is one of my favorite ones every year. Write a note to your future roommate, 250 words. And then tell us something that is meaningful to you and why. So, Michael, some of these are really specific, some of these are really kind of open-ended. Anything you want to say about Stanford?
Again, like I say, I think be yourself, speak from the heart, add it to continue the theme of what your application is all about, and then you'll be seen in a positive light. Again, don't try to write, what does Stanford want to hear me say? No, that is not the way to approach these questions.
Stanford wants to hear you say not what they want, right? Or, well, what they want is what you honestly, truly want to say. They
Right.
honestly, truly want that. And
Yep.
to be honest, I often find that people are afraid of the mundane, right? And oftentimes the mundane is thrilling to an outside person. What to you is maybe kind of everyday or old hat, to us might be the most incredible thing. I had a student a couple of years ago who she applied to Stanford, and I forget which of the prompts. It was probably it was definitely one of the short questions. She wrote about, what is it? Yeah. I think it was in this one, a job you hold, a response you have to your family. She was basically the person who cooked a certain dish for her family. They all loved this one same dish. And it was a dish from, it was a dish with ancestral roots. And it actually allowed her in 50 words to talk not just about this one particular dish she liked to make, but also, tie it to family heritage. Also even, start to incorporate some vocabulary from Venezuela, and it was just awesome. So again, what might be boring to you might be thrilling to all of us.